brought to mind was the lack of disclosure and the feeling that, along with mental illness, Parkinson's is also thought to hold some sort of stigma. Mm-hmm. So people are sort of, hesitant to disclose this information to their support circles or to the general public. And third sort of thing that came about was that people are, even with Parkinson's disease, are often unaware that this is more than a motor movement disorder, that it really does affect a lot more and symptoms that can give you a poor quality of life.
Well, Sonia, I think so many people, because Robin Williams, they later found out he had no financial problems, he had a wonderful marriage, he has wonderful children, he was recognized as a performing genius, and they just couldn't understand how you would take your life, because we associate that with people who are, going through rough times, really rough times. But as someone who was diagnosed and who understands, he already was mentally fragile, which he admitted, and he was very diligent about working on that. How surprised were you that he would have taken his life in that state and then finding out that diagnosis?
Well, his journey with depression is obviously something that he's spoken about, I believe, himself. Mm-hmm. The sort of interesting thing between once they came up with the Parkinson's diagnosis is that depression actually can precede the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So it can be sort of an early sign of Parkinson's disease, which is an interesting situation. I think you have to really define what depression is in order to answer that question. If we're talking about clinical depression or major depressive episodes, then they really are very criteria-based in terms of having difficulty with mood and sleep and appetite and energy level and so forth. There's also issues that arise just with the Parkinson's diagnosis, which he may have dealt with himself, which is kind of more of an adjustment disorder for most people, where something as big or as influential as a diagnosis of an incurable disease can bring about feelings of sadness. In someone that already has depression or depressive tendencies, that can obviously be aggravated and may have been a stressor that could have initiated his decline.
So how close are we to a cure? What is going on in the field of research for which we are hopefully going to? I'm hearing that money is pouring into all sorts of Parkinson's foundations.
This newfound awareness, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where are we?
We're getting there. The problem with Parkinson's disease is that we really don't know what causes it. And when you don't know what causes something, it's very difficult to treat for obvious reasons. But we're getting farther and farther along in finding ways to detect what might be the actual cause of Parkinson's disease. We know it results in lower brain chemicals, particularly dopamine, but we don't know what causes those cells to die that normally would produce dopamine or chemical messengers in our brain. But there's lots of research being done now in order to find out why this happens.
Now, I know that stem cells are a big part of some of the research that's being done.
Yes, they have been for quite a long time. They've run into some roadblocks, but it's a very exciting area for sure.
So what do you think? Do you think in 5 years or 10 years we may have an answer, or is it one of those things that could be tomorrow or it could be 50 years from now?
I think it's the latter. I think Michael got in trouble when he had sort of declared that it would be cured within 10 years from him starting the foundation. People kind of held him to it. And I don't want to really say for sure, but I do think that things are coming about. We also have to recognize that the drug development process
That was my question. Are we looking at better treatments, better ways of maintaining a good quality of life that come out of research?
That's the goal, really. Until a cure is found, it has to be all about quality of life, and that's what physicians and patients have to direct their efforts towards. I mean, for a neurological drug to get from the lab to the drugstore shelf can take anywhere from up to 15 years, and about $1 billion worth of investment. So it's
Wow.
a huge task, and the more money that is available to our research community, the faster those better treatments and a cure will come.
Which in an instance like this, if we have to look for a silver lining after a tragedy, is that the awareness has been raised substantially, and that people are saying, hey, this cause definitely needs our support in order to get more research, in order to see improvement. And we're starting to see, we're seeing a large increase in funds coming in.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you stress, because you have a website which is?
DesigningAcure.com.
And I would urge all our listeners to go to that website, along with the Michael J. Fox.
The Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research is a great website as well for resources as well as raising money. They also have something called the Fox Trial Finder, because one of the issues with Parkinson's research is we don't have enough people participating in Parkinson's research. And you can register online for, it's sort of like a matching or dating service. They pair you up with a clinical trial in your area that you may be able to help out with.
And another thing, I think, Sonia, part of your message is to help younger people, children who have a parent dealing with it, and how to sort of prepare them.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of stems from my three daughters. Parkinson's disease really is more of a family diagnosis, because when a parent or grandparent is affected, it obviously affects the whole family unit, particularly those that are most vulnerable, which is our children. And helping them get through the stress of having someone that they love with this disease, I think, is really important, and making sure you have open dialogue and directing the information towards their age level is very important to do.
And the Parkinson's Society can be a leader in helping with the education process, as far as educating for what's going on now, and educating those same children for, as your parent is aging, the different things that are to come.
Absolutely. There's a number of online resources that are quite good, and community resources that are quite good for that as well. And a number of books as well for children.
Of which you have written a couple.
I've written.
Can you tell us which ones they are?
I've written one which is available now on Amazon called My Grandpa's Shaky Hands, which is more for sort of preschool to young children's age. And then the other one, which should be coming out shortly, is called Shaky Hands, A Kid's Guide to Parkinson's Disease. That one I actually wrote with my three daughters, and they put their input into it about what it was like for them, or what it is like for them to have a parent with Parkinson's disease.
Well, that's told from the kids' perspective, and that's so important, because they'll be addressing things the way a child would.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes my perspective is not the same
No,
as theirs.
and it wouldn't be. Absolutely.
And also we need to change the stigma so that more people, it's what we're trying to do with mental health issues as well, which is change the stigma so people are not afraid to say, I am going through something and I need to reach out. Because research has shown that if you have face-to-face support, you are going to weather health storms way better than if you are isolated.
Absolutely, and having that support team is extremely important for your quality of life. I understand that people have to be ready to disclose, and that sometimes is because of personal reasons or sometimes occupational reasons. But I felt the same. I didn't want a pity party, so that's why I didn't tell people for, as I mentioned, about a decade, except for some very close people. So, helping people recognize that it really is not a stigma, and that they could receive so much support and improve their quality of life by disclosing, I think, is an important issue.
And Sonia, you're a perfect example. You are a beautiful woman. You are beloved by all your friends, by your children, by your husband. You're an active, contributing member of society. You do more for people than almost anyone I know, and she's a fashionista, and wow, and it's a privilege to know you. So, on behalf of all of us at WhatSheSaid and Canada Talks, and all our listeners, we can't thank you enough for joining us today and for sharing your story and your inspiring strength And so before we go, where can people go to find out more, and where can people go to donate?
Mhm.
Because I think that is the key. Let's put our money where our mouth is, so that somebody
Make a
who is in
difference.
Robin Williams' situation, you know, can go somewhere, and there is hope.
I mean, there are a number of organizations that provide a really great source of information. My website has links to most of those. The Michael J. Fox Foundation is dedicated towards research to finding better treatments and a cure. They're a great organization, not only for donations, but also for information for people to live well with Parkinson's disease, because that's really important. If you're thinking about ways to help yourself maintain your quality of life, then the Brian Grant Foundation provides a great online resource for exercise, because that's one thing that we know does help
Yes.
people maintain quality of life in Parkinson's disease is regular exercise. Davis Finney Foundation does as well. And here in Canada, the Parkinson's Society Canada also has a great website with some educational resources, and they do also fund some research as well.
Beautiful. It's been such a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much. And stay with us. It is a Monday and so much to come on What She Said on Canada Talks. When we return, yes, fall, believe it or not, is in the air already. But that doesn't have to be a negative. Fall fashion is in the air too. Erin Nadler joins us from Better Styled when we come back.